Hello again. Monday morning, the question that came in via email said, I'm aware of the prophecies for the Messiah, but why were people expecting him at that time? Great question. And the answer is they weren't. Not until, let's talk about that. For hundreds of years, we often talk about that from Malachi to the birth of Jesus, 400 years of silence, but it wasn't silence at all. There was quite a lot of writing being done. Uh, Bible books that didn't quite get in the Bible, all of this was being worked on hard during this time. So they were still looking for the Messiah. They were still praying for the Messiah. It's part of the daily prayer. It's a part of their holidays. Each festival through the year has some sort of mention of, if not absolute focus on, the Messiah. And so they were looking, but they didn't have any details about times. Now, some of you will be screaming at your screens, but the book of Daniel lays it out that there'll be the first Alexander, there'll be Nebuchadnezzar all the way down to Alexander and then to Rome and then to Well, kind of. Daniel was written a lot later than most people think it was written. Most Christians think it was written. Scholars are almost universal in understanding that it was written hundreds of years after the events and that it was written for political and theological reasons, politics and theology being about the same thing back then. But no, Daniel didn't nail it down either. And so why were they ready? How were they ready? Well, they were ready because God sent somebody to get them ready. Now, there had been some buzz before. You had all of those magi coming from the east. You had the Star of Bethlehem. That would have caused some talk. The magi would have appeared a couple of years after the birth of Christ, but they kept the talk going. And then John the Baptist comes. And here's a big reason why they were ready for Jesus. God sent somebody ahead of Jesus to prepare the ground. John the Baptist was his cousin, and he preached to the common people. They came out from Jerusalem, Bethlehem. They came out from all the surrounding areas to listen to John. And John was preparing them for the coming of their Messiah. And then he turns one day as Jesus is going down this road and points, and he goes, "Behold the Lamb." And Jesus comes over. He is baptized of John. The people quickly rallied around around Jesus, because John had prepared them for that moment. And then, of course, word of mouth and Jesus's travel, which was rather extensive for being limited geographically. He bounced around all through that area extensively and back and forth across the Lake of Galilee. So that's why there was a large group ready for Jesus, is that God sent John the Baptist first to preach for years to get them ready. So once again, there's no instant success. You don't get to eat fruit unless you plant the trees or unless you allow it to ripen. And John the Baptist was ready at the fullness of time. There'd already been a slight buzz, a little bit, and then John the Baptist comes and gets them ready. Now, I'd like to compare and contrast that for just a few minutes. We're going to be short this week because we were so long last week, and I owe you time. Why is it then that since that time, every generation almost has thought theirs was the last generation? Well, at first it was because nobody thought Jesus was going to be off planet for 2,000 plus years. Nobody. Paul, the writers of the New Testament, assumed he was coming right back. And when he didn't, and the apostles began to die, then the books are written, the books are collected, you're keeping the community together. But everything was a sign of the apocalypse. Comet in the sky, a new star, perhaps, bad weather, literally, disease. All of these were signs of the apocalypse. All drama meant the end of the world, because we've always had a really hard time differentiating between the end of us as an individual or as a culture or as a nation, and the end of God, the end of time, the end of the way things are going. And so we believe everything lives and dies on us. And so when we are affected badly by something, or we are scared by something on the news, wars here, wars there, we start going, oh, this must be the end of time. And so we grab verses out of Daniel and Zechariah and a few out of Ezekiel and Isaiah, and then we run into Revelation, which almost didn't make it into the Bible, by the way, and is still looked upon with suspicion by many large groups of Christians. They will grab things and we'll make big doctrines like the rapture, when the word rapture is not even found in the book of Revelation or anywhere else in the Bible. We will start talking about, well, there's going to be this war, and we get all the drama. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Human beings are attracted to drama because drama gives them meaning. Drama gives them the ability to say, I'm a victim. I need special extra care and extra consideration because of this. Or I'm afraid because I see now new things coming and they're not my old things, and therefore I'm terrified that God can't handle that. So the world must be coming to an end. We have called everything the end of the world since Christ. And so while they weren't ready for the Messiah to show up, they were ready. They weren't looking for him to be there immediately until John the Baptist tells them it's at hand. The kingdom of heaven is coming. We look upon everything as a sign that he must be coming back now. I've lost count of the number of times people have in this sotto voce thing, you see the signs, don't you? It couldn't be plainer. It could not be plainer. This is the end of the world. They have been saying this for 2,000 years, and all of them were absolutely as certain as those of you who are saying it. Now, I'm not going to fight you over it. I'm certainly not going to question your Christianity or your faith. Oh, please, no. We're saved, you're saved, we're all good. But there's no reason to panic. Jesus can come back whenever he wants to. It doesn't have to be now. It could be in another billion years. There is no way to tell. In fact, Jesus, whenever he talks about the fall of Jerusalem in Matthew 25, says, well, here are the signs for that. And then they had also asked him, what will be the signs of the end of the world? And he said, there won't be any. It'll be just like any other day. So I don't look around looking for the signs at the end of the world. I look around to see who needs clothes, who needs food, who needs an encouraging word, who needs a smile, who needs a little help with their lawn or help with their life, who needs the presence of Christ through a person today. Because that's our job. Our job's not to be watching the clock, wondering if time's about to run out and we can go home now. Our job is to work while it is day, because the night comes when no one can work. So, why were they expecting him when he came? They weren't until John the Baptist prepared the field. They knew he was coming, but coming at that time, not really until John the Baptist, except a few people from the east and some shepherds knew, and so did Mary. Why do people think it's the end of the world now? Because we think all history culminates with us and that we're really, really special and we love drama. It's not because of Scripture. Scripture tells us to be busy, go to work. We don't need to worry about all this other stuff. God's timing is God's timing. As Jesus said to his apostles, it's not for us to know the days and the hours. We have work to do. So go love one another. That's our job. Let's get to it. God bless you. We'll talk to you next week. Cheers.